We've got some interesting news in the world of XRP. And if you're holding any, make sure you press that like button. So first of all, the Ripple CEO just revealed the timeline for when their Ripple USD, which is going to be running on the XRP ledger, is going to launch. So right now, over on the Korean Blockchain Week, he basically stated that it will just take another few weeks for it to launch instead of the expected months. And I'm not so sure how big this is going to be straight out of the bat. The only thing we know is that Ripple's new venture to launch a stablecoin could actually become the most active or most interesting thing really on XRP ever. It probably could add a significant amount of volume, activity, and growth for the XRP ledger, as having a stablecoin, specifically a trusted one, in comparison to a decentralized one, can definitely help your network gain traction. And with all the announcements of recently of the XRP ledger broadening out, allowing for more smart contract functionality, this is obviously a ridiculously big step. And the fact that it's only a few weeks away, to me, is rather interesting. I'm also curious to see just how much of the volume / percentage will be over on Ethereum, because right now everything's being tested out, but eventually it will list on Ethereum and the XRP ledger. It's interesting to see how that's going to look. Now, having said that, there's another rather interesting piece we've definitely got to cover here, and it has to do with the fact. So 𝗕𝗓𝗀𝗀 just put over on Twitter that Ripple filed a letter requesting a stay of the monetary portion of the Ripple's court, or actually the court's judgment entered on August 7th. The SEC has consented to the request for stay with a proposed order below. So for all of you that are not too good with these legal documents, even though I'm not a lawyer, we've got a couple years of experience now. So here's the portion that's interesting. Under the proposed order, the stay will last until 30 days after the time to appeal expires or the resolution of any appeal. During that time, post-judgment interest will accrue in the SEC's favor as set forth in the judgment. Ripple will retain beneficial ownership but no control of the fund, and any interest that accrues by virtue of its deposit in the bank account, 𝗕𝗪𝗀𝗀 will be responsible for ensuring that the fund remains in the account until released by mutual consent to the parties or by order of the court, but will have no duties, fiduciary or otherwise, to the SEC. The party's intent is that the fund should be released only when used by consent or by order to satisfy the monetary portion of the judgment, when Ripple satisfies the monetary portion of the judgment through other means, or when the judgment is reversed. Should the Court of Appeals vacate or modify the judgment, the parties will attempt in good faith to reach agreement about the appropriate treatment of the fund and will submit to the court any disputes that they cannot resolve. So the long story short is that Ripple right now has to, or at least wants to, open an interest-bearing account where they put in 111% basically of the entire amount they had to pay, which I believe is $125 million. Under which the interest is going to be accruing for the SEC, but it'll still be under Kellogg, Hansen, Todd, whatever, all Ripple's law firms as names. So Ripple's counsel, theoretically speaking, is still owner of this money that is with Truist Bank, and that has got the funds plus interest in it that again still will be earning interest, with the whole idea being that Ripple still is the owner of the funds, but they cannot control the funds. And so the whole debacle here, I wouldn't say it's too important, but it's the most recent lawsuit piece that came out. Almost got 1 million views over on 𝗕𝗓𝗀𝗀's profile. And I'd say the main reason that this is so interesting to people is because of the implications and what people basically expect to come from this. So Fred, for example, said, "Thanks, James. Going through all this effort with establishing a trust for the funds boosts chances of an appeal, in my opinion. But ultimately, this is just the safest play for SEC to buy time until October 7th deadline to appeal." Now, there were a lot of posts about what this summer really entailed, but for what I understand, this second, or actually these both parts by MIT here are pretty solid. There was a lot of statements saying that this means Ripple has a little bit more time to pay it back. No, because they have to put money in the account straight away, right? Even 111%. And second of all, one of the parts that it could be good for is the fact that the SEC now does not have the money yet, only when everything is over and done. So if they were to appeal, they can't, theoretically speaking, have access to the money and then appeal. They can only get it once it's really done. So I think it's just a matter of, hey, let's finish our business here before we finish business and I give you the money. Let's settle the deal and make sure it's solid before I send you funds. Because otherwise it could be like, hey, I'm going to send you over let's say $140 million. They're going to try to get more out of me. I've already sent you to 140. If you want to get more, let's first, discuss what exactly you're going to get before I send you a penny. Now, I've got the funds. Take a look at the account. I've got the funds here ready for you. But if you want to get more, you want to change things up, let's change them first before I send. That's kind of what I feel about it. In theory, this could be an extremely long time then before the SEC gets their money. If you think about it, let's say, for example, the SEC does decide to appeal and have to go over everything again. It could be that it takes another, let's say 6 months as an example, right? But that means that perhaps it could take an extremely long time before the SEC gets their funds. I mean, at least another, let's say a month, 2 months from now, but perhaps a way bigger amount. Anyway, that's what a lot of articles have been built around just today. The SEC appeal odds are increasing, or what people are saying, because of this document. Now, honestly, I can't say that's the truth, but the expectation is that if it were to happen, that it'll only get to a conclusion in like 2026. And that means they've got to wait a lot of time for the money. That's some nice interest accruing, though. I've also seen a lot of people recently post about a Ripple IPO, a potential Ripple IPO. One thing I've got to say about that is, just like this article says, they'll probably not do it in the US, all right? The XP community would not see a Ripple IPO in the US, as Brad Garlinghouse has ruled out the chances of such an occurrence once more again over in Korea right now. Right now, Ripple, some of the guys are over in Korea at the Korean Blockchain Week. Very soon, I'll be in Singapore, and they're also going to be there. I'll try to get you guys some glimpses of what exactly is going on. But honestly, we get it from these news articles nonetheless anyway. And it's kind of funny how even though they got pretty far with all these lawsuits, it's still such a hostile environment over in the US. And one part that can attribute to that is CZ, the founder of Binance, whom apparently might get a lifetime suspension from being involved with Binance. Zhao banned for life from Binance leadership under a deal with the U.S. authorities due to legal violations. Binance's new CEO confirmed Zhao retains majority shareholder status despite permanent leadership ban. And so it was kind of interesting that he stepped down, but actually he was just not allowed to be there anymore. But also, from my own perspective, and again, this is perhaps really ignorant, but I don't think he really did that much wrong. They just wanted to make an example out of him. He says, "I'm sorry. I believe the first step in taking responsibility is to fully recognize the mistakes. Here, I failed to implement an adequate anti-money laundering program. I realize now the seriousness of that mistake." And that's why he can never be a leader of the company anymore, because he failed to check things properly. Now, again, going to jail for it is one thing, right? But even then, I don't think this would have deserved jail under normal circumstances. Debatable, though. There's so much debate. From one perspective, I really understand why it deserves a whole lot of jail. And on the opposite side, this going to jail for is kind of stupid. And the reason I'm saying that is because, when it comes to some of these other crypto spearheads, even though they've just been in the marketplace, like, for example, with Silk Road, he got, I think, 2 life sentences without parole, I think. Maybe more, maybe slightly less. But that's kind of ridiculous also. So you got life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus $180 million in fines. It's not that much. But he's already been in prison for over a decade. And the fact that he got this long in prison, his whole life, for being a marketplace owner, theoretically. I know there's, again, a couple of I's to be dotted there, but you get the idea. And him being the founder of the biggest crypto exchange with tons of money laundering, tons of financing of things that shouldn't be financed. And that, theoretically, it's not that big a jail time. And he didn't really get into too much trouble. On the opposite side, and that's my thoughts on it, if the rules really weren't there, which there still aren't fully, you can't fully blame them. Then again, they're also going after Coinbase and Kraken and all the legitimate U.S. companies that are doing it following the books. So it's not like the SEC or U.S. DOJ or anybody in the U.S. really cares. They just want to smack everybody. Matter of fact, talking about smacking, Bitcoin went down again, and people are again taking up so much of a panicked stance. And I keep making it clear to y'all, I don't really care for a lot of the negativity I see in the space. Just holding on fine, and I think if we look back in a few months, all will be good. It's just a matter of patience. And ladies and gentlemen, I am a patient man, all right? Like, keep thinking about it. This bull run ain't over. I keep seeing the freaking articles every single day. This, again, the title is, "The Bitcoin Bull Run is Canceled, and Altcoin Season Will Never Happen." Ladies and gentlemen, if altcoin season does not happen, it's going to be an interesting year, because I can't see any world where an altcoin season doesn't occur. Matter of fact, I can't see any world where the crypto market doesn't go absolutely crazy. Really, I can't. What I can see is a crazy recession. What I can see is the dollar losing some of its value. What I can see is the banking system having another smack to the face. What I cannot see is the crypto market only going down from here. Once more, corrections are logical. The price doesn't have to pick up tomorrow, but if it doesn't within the next year, then everything we've known for crypto has been wrong. That's all I'm about to say about it. Even if we crash slightly more from here, I don't think it's that big a deal. Really, I don't. Worst that can happen is I have to sit on my bags slightly longer, but I know the inevitable will happen. It's just a matter of time. There'll be so much fear. Matter of fact, somebody in the comment section was angry that I made a panicky title. I thought the title was really accurate, what I put there. Stock market, everything was crashing. There was a lot of panic. Right now, again, everything is crashing and there's a lot of panic, but again, I am not. And that's always the mood I want to portray in these videos as well. That I'm not really afraid of any of this turbulence, any of this volatility, as I do not believe it is lasting. Again, it might be annoying, it might be disheartening to say the least, but not last for too long. That just makes all of this so easy. But anyway, guys, that was it for today's video. Little update on the Ripple situation, little update on the sentiment. People are angry, people are scared, but let them be. Let them sell their coins while we stack up, and that's all I want to make dirty about this.